I'm Adolfo Tejas. I'm past president from several years ago, and I'm president-elect again for the Sunrise Rotary Club of El Paso.
Awesome. Thank you. Nelson?
Hi, Nelson Calzadilla, Treasurer for Camino Real Rotary Club and President-elect.
Thank you. Leo?
I'm Leland Wood, and I am in the Taos Milagro Rotary Club. I am president-elect, and I also served as treasurer for 4 years, and also ran our big fundraiser for 2 years, Philly Challenge.
Okay, thank you. Rhonda?
Hi, good evening. I'm Rhonda Vincent. I'm president-elect of the Rotary Club, secretary for 2 years, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for allowing me to join.
Awesome, thank you. And Deb?
Hi, I'm Deborah Lyles. I am the president for the Rotary Club of Hobbs.
Okay, and Marianne?
I'm Marianne Romero. I'm president-elect of the Santa Rosa Rotary Club.
Okay, and William Baker?
I'm the president-elect for the Socorro Rotary Club.
And Evelyn?
I bet you guys get it when she's in the bathroom.
You want to,
That sounds like the Academy Awards last year.
At least she doesn't have a microphone with her.
wow.
We got a lot of work to do.
So Fred, would you be so kind as to introduce your lovely bride? Let us know who she is. Not there. Okay. But Evelyn Bryant is the president-elect for the Albuquerque Metro Club. Okay, at this point, we're going to turn it over to Mary. She's going to do the first module tonight. We're in the second half of part 2. So we're starting with club communication. And so, Mary, the floor is yours.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is to share the screen. I hope everybody has printed off your copy of this whole section because it would be helpful when we do some breakouts that you at least have the copy. Does everybody have one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Good.
But I can figure it out.
All right. So the goals are to understand the elements of effective communication and apply effective communications to Rotary leadership. This really simplifies the subject greatly. There's so much more to it than what we'll possibly be able to cover tonight. But the first item that they have here is what opportunities exist for leaders of any member of a Rotary Club to communicate with others. And so I want to open that up to the floor and get your input.
Vocational talks.
Okay.
If you get on a committee.
All righty.
Become a board member.
Okay. What about talking to prospective members? All right, so there are many opportunities available to communicate with different members in different ways, whether you're on a committee or not, you know, and some of that is just the human nature of communicating with one another so that we can build some relationship or camaraderie amongst the members, which is helpful for any club. So I think the next question, it really opens up a whole huge can. What problems can this, exist for effective communication?
If people use a different primary communication method, like some prefer email, but others prefer talking in person.
Okay, and how does that cause a problem?
Well, each person is probably somewhat resistant to using the communication method of the person they're talking to, and might expect the person they're talking to instead change to talk the way.
Okay, very good. Somebody else? Do we sometimes run into a problem because of things that are going on with us, like personal distractions or environmental distractions, and consequently we're not listening as well, which listening is part of communication? Anybody want to jump in on that? I don't think I'm communicating effectively, Jeff. It's really quiet out there.
Yeah, a lot of communications classes I've taken.
I don't speak up.
Go ahead. Was that William?
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying a lot of communications classes I've taken have focused on listening skills rather. I mean, they talk a little bit about how to talk more effectively, but most of it is how to listen more effectively.
Okay.
So just from that, I'd say that seems to be the most commonly perceived problem in communication, is that people don't seem to know how to listen effectively.
All right, that's a huge part of it, is how well we listen. And, oftentimes, as you probably had in some of your classes, we're thinking ahead as to what is that speaker going to say and how am I going to answer them, etc. So the different, yeah. So the different things that are going on can impact that. Want to share another screen with you right now that talks about it talks about different behavior styles, and basically this also impacts the way we communicate and also the way that we receive information. So if you just look here at the top left where it says direct, those are people who are very goal and objective oriented. They're very business-like. They're very direct and straightforward. And so they speak quickly. They want all the information quickly. And you can lose them if you're not communicating what fits in their style. Does that make some sense? Or and you can identify people you've met like that.
Definitely.
The one on the top right is called the spirited. They're usually much more outgoing, salesmanish-y, that's the word. They like to inspire. They're supportive with ideas. They like to be entertained. They're not always good listeners. They need things oftentimes in writing to help back up, or they don't know what you said. They will have forgotten it. On the bottom left is the systemic, and they are very organized, detail-oriented. They want all of the details. I can think of someone in my club who's very much this. They're very analytical, and I'm a little bit more up here on the spirited side, even though I move around. And so I might write something and think I've included everything, and this person will come back and ask for more details. So then you can get a little frustrated. The one on the bottom right is called the considerate, and they're the supportive people. They're very empathetic. They're very informal. They're very relaxed. So they may go, whatever. And this person over here on the left, the systemic, they're going, what do you mean, whatever? So even right here, just because of our behavior styles, we can run into some communications problems. So now I'm paging down and showing a little bit more of what some of the trouble spots are. So that direct person is definitely a poor listener. They're impatient with others, and they like to be argumentative. The spirited one does not hear the details. They're more big picture. They tend to, here it says exaggerate, embellish a little bit, generalize, and can be over dramatic. The systemic, they focus too much on the details, and they fear, they don't like to disclose. They're very, play it close to the vest. And use little variety in their vocal tone. I mean, these are the accountants, computer programmers, those kinds of folks. On the bottom right is the considerate. They avoid conflict. They give in easily, and then later on, by themselves, they may be really unhappy about it because they've given in. They keep their opinions to themselves, and they overemphasize feelings. So these different behavior patterns can cause us some challenges when we're communicating. Does any of this make sense to you folks?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Can you kind of pick out your style?
I'm all for. Does that mean I need counseling?
Who said that?
I said I'm all for of those. Does that mean I need to go to some counseling?
No, that's awesome, because I mean, theoretically, and the best is we should flex between these, but there's usually one area that you're more comfortable with. So if you can flex, you must be a great communicator, Mark.
Ask my president. She's online. She'll probably disagree with you.
If you pay attention, you have better chance of flexing amongst these. And some people are just, they're so deep in their behavior style that to flex for them is extremely difficult. Okay, any questions or comments on that? No, you're good with it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me go back to where I was.
So I know it's probably out of place in the order of things. Like I said, I've run into a lot of these things where they focus on how to listen better, but those trouble spots kind of point out that people, they listen the way they listen, and it's really hard for them to change how they listen. Will you also be covering like techniques on how to speak better to a particular personality type?
Well, I think if you recognize what their personality or behavior style is, then you can more consciously adapt your style to meet what their needs are. Some people, it's really easy to identify what their behavior style is, and others not so much. I mean, if we have, was it Mark who can flex between them? Well, okay, so what day is it, Mark? Which way do you want to get this information? So I think if the person who's listening can also communicate to the person who's speaking about what their needs are, that can help. Does that make sense,
right.
William?
Oh, that does make sense. You know, the problem I'm facing is, you know, every communications course I've taken has focused on how to listen better, not how to, you know, not any techniques to do what you just said, which is, you know, to flex and adjust what you're doing for the person you're talking to. Right,
and we really don't have the time to peel this onion in lots and lots of layers, but that's part of what I think this particular seminar It talks about written and oral communications, and I think to meet everyone's needs, you oftentimes have to do both in different ways. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I once did a class, and there was a fellow in there who had immediate, shoot, I forgot what you call it. If you can read something and you can remember everything that you've read and have that immediate recall. So that's a visual mode. But this person auditorially, he could repeat back everything that was said. At the end of the class, all the guys in there were ready to kill him because he remembered everything he said. And none of us do, most of us do. So, you just have to be really cognizant and try to communicate in every possible way. Are there any other questions or comments here on this?
Mary, I was wondering what role, newsletter publications, would it fall under this, or is this sort of another topic that you would cover in terms of club communications and things?
Well, I think that's another way of communicating. And I think it's a great idea if you have a newsletter. Otherwise, maybe your minutes from meeting to meeting, if someone's not there, or you didn't hear it because something else is distracting you or going on. It's another written way to communicate.
Well, for example, what I was thinking of is occasionally when we induct a new member, we'll have them say a few words about themselves. I know I did that when I was inducted. But very often we don't. We just present them with their paraphernalia and they go and sit down. So we've been thinking about possibly doing in our weekly newsletter, something about a new member or a new member in the last year, and have them tell us about themselves in the written sense.
I think that's a good idea. The verbal way people can ask questions, which can't in the newsletter. Maybe you might consider a 5 or 10 minute intro that they can do, and people can ask questions and then still do something in the newsletter. But
that's what we were thinking too, because very often when a person writes about themselves rather than gives their verbal in front of the club where they may be a little nervous, they may include things that may pique some interest or networking among other members. That's right. What we were thinking about.
Well, and you're mentioning that, I think is a great idea. If you even had a little booklet that you kept up to date that every member had that they could refer back to, in case they missed it one time. Do other people have any comments about this? Has anybody ever done it?
You mean writing for a newsletter, or?
Well, what William is suggesting, having a little bio about people in the newsletter.
Oh. Okay. No, we've never. Our club hasn't done that.
What have you done?
We've always done vocational talks, and it's oral.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which I think is great, because then you can ask questions and so on.
Yeah, but I'm wondering about doing a combo of both.
I was in a club back in Maine that put a booklet together of all the members with bios in them.
Mm-hmm. And was that useful?
Frankly, I never did use it.
Okay.
But, other people might have.
Okay. All right.
We have a book too, but it's very hard to keep it updated. If you have to remember
yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's probably the problem.
Yeah, Mary, we've done what you're talking about, put bios in our newsletter, and we've thought it's been pretty effective.
Okay.
Getting people introduced, and sometimes the bio can be more than just a plain bio. It can be, something interesting or intriguing about that person.
Right. And so you're using both methods of communication that way, which is a good thing. Okay.
When we've talked and surveyed our members is not only do we like to know what their vocational interests are, what fields they're in, but they're avocational. In other words, what hobbies, you a coin collector or a bird watcher. We often find that people can network with the avocational a little easier than they can with vocational issues.
Exactly. That's good. Okay, so in the sense of time, we're going to move on here. The next question here is, when is written or oral communication too long? Or is a very short communication sometimes effective?
Well, I would say that an oral communication would be too long when they notice the audience is becoming distracted and
yawning.
Or, yeah. I don't know if there's a real time limit on that.
Yeah, if we think back now what I showed you on the behavior styles, some people can be very long-winded, like the spirited, the one who's, really outgoing, likes to be entertained. And there may be somebody else sitting there who is a systemic and they're like bored to death and it's way too long. And so it's really, you'll see people's personalities come out on the length of their communication. Usually the direct and the systemic are pretty short and sweet and to the point and done, out of here. And the other two will take a little more. So then sometimes you have to put a time frame on it, and it's really, really hard if someone wants to continue on.
Mm-hmm. Mary, I feel like I'm kind of bouncing back and forth on our club communication because I took this at first a little bit about internally. How we communicate with our fellow Rotarians. And so we do a lot through Club Runner. Every week we send our bulletin out. We send out important information. We reiterate that at our club meetings. We touched on it a little bit. We're very organized in our meetings that, we're down to business. We speak what we need to speak. And then I'm bouncing back now to some of the questions as far as the guest speaker. And we're pretty strict. We do have a time limit. We say 20 minutes. Because we do have not club assembly, we do have our own announcements and things that we do as a club.
Right.
And so we have a 20-minute time limit. Now, we're very flexible. Go back to that in leadership and listening is being flexible and knowing the need and what our Rotary Club believes and stand for, depending on the speaker. We're flexible with that. I mean, all means we're not going to run over an hour, but our club president, usually runs a very tight ship when it comes to our club assembly because we're all working people.
Right.
When we take our lunch break, it's at lunch. And so we give ourselves 15 minutes to eat. And then the next 30 to 45 is club business or our club administration, our speakers. So I kind of feel like I'm bouncing back and forth, and I'm sorry. I feel like my thoughts can't stay in the same track because I feel like, am I going internally with communication or externally? Because I feel like as a club, we do really well communicating internally with each other. So, and I know we can do that through Club Runner or private emails, and we just, I guess we might hound each other. We might do a little too much.
Well, but I think you bring up a really good point of usually meetings are an hour and you have to keep them to the hour. So there are sometimes things that come up that you don't have the time to share in that hour. And so you need to share it another way.
Well, and actually in my new board, my club administrator has come to me and has said exactly what you've all touched on about knowing our members. I know our members because I was born and raised here. So I knew the majority of the members before I ever even became a Rotary member. And so I'm very fortunate in that, but several aren't. And so he has asked me, in our tenure, in our reign of presidency and your new board, I want to do things differently with every member every week, whether it's in the newsletter or whether it's 5 minutes at every club meeting. They have to stand up and say 5 things that nobody in the club would know about them. And, you know, we've also talked about having more socials for families. You know, we have 2 a year, obviously, but we want more with our families. And so in my tenure, we may do a little changing with that so that the newer members may get to know everyone equally and individually. So there's not a clique. I mean, I don't know how everybody is in their own clubs. You know, right now we have 57 members, and, you know, you have people who sit at the same table every single week. And so we want our new members to be very welcome and feel like they're a part of everything. And we work hard as a team. We absolutely do. But I want them to feel welcome too. And we do have several new members, you know, between 7 and 10 over the last 12 months. So I think it's real important for them to be included and feel important.
Okay. You bring up some really, really good points that we all need to keep in mind. And, you know, and some people will still say, you need to communicate more. And other people will say, it's just fine. It's all good. And I remember back in corporate life, they said, if you think you've communicated enough, communicate some more. You know, because it usually takes us several times of hearing the same thing over before it actually registers. That makes sense. Like 7 times. Okay. Any other comments?
Well, Mary, we gave a survey probably last, I'm thinking September, October. And what our members told us was if the topic's really interesting, they can listen to it for a long time. I mean, I know this sounds obvious, but a lot of it was if it's not a real interesting thing to the majority of the members, they'd rather spend time doing some fellowship and networking than listening to the speaker drone on and just ask questions. The other thing our members told us is the speakers are most effective, and I'm going to use an analogy here. It's called time on target. You know, if we're going to run a fundraiser for some club, for some group in the area, we want them to come talk to us maybe once or twice. So it's a time on target kind of thing, which generates the interest. And so that's what they also told us, that more timely things with the club activities and the club planning, rather than just bringing in who was available.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to say sometimes what someone's going to find interesting. One person may find a topic interesting and another one not. Hopefully you have.
Well, and I think it depends on the subject or the topic. For instance, we had a speaker talk to us about open carry at the last meeting. You know, that's a wide spread subject. 20 minutes wasn't enough. There was a lot of interest and a lot of people wanted to know more. And we're inviting the person back for a second presentation. However, sometimes we get subjects that are, you know, the presenter goes on for 20 minutes and he's done and no one has any questions. And we don't even, I see that there wasn't too much interest on the topic.
Right. And sometimes, as you're saying, it's just a huge surprise. You don't know who's going to be interested.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on and do a little work here. So the next thing we have is both oral and written communication. And with Jeff's help, we're going to split up into breakout groups. Some of you will be doing this intro that's here. You'll have about 8 minutes, so that means you have 4 minutes for each person to give us some facts so that the other person can introduce you when we come back together. You're going to be off by yourself. The other group is going to do a written communication, and there is a scrolling down here. There is the internal written communication case study. So that group is going to go over this There should be maybe there will be, I don't know, 2 or 3 groups on this written case study. And group 1 is going to deal with these first 3 questions. The next group will deal with the next 3 questions. And let's see, we lost a couple. So I think both of those groups will have to be answering number 3. And then we'll come back together and we'll cover this and we'll cover the other introductions.
Okay, Mary, this is Jeff. Let me interject. We're going to do 4 breakout rooms and keep Evelyn and Bill Finley in the main room because, Bill, for some reason, I didn't see you on the breakout room options.
Okay.
And we have enough facilitators to go with the other 4 rooms. So I assigned each facilitator a room. So I'm going to recommend, just given how we set this up, the rooms that Bruce and Jesse have will do the oral exercise.
Okay.
And then Dom's room and Cheryl's room and the main room, Mary, which you'll be in, will do the written exercises. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay.
All
Okay.
right. We ready to start?
Are the written directions clear for everybody? So one group is going to do this group 1, one group will do group 2, and both will answer that final question, who in the club is responsible.
And the oral ones are just the introductions, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, folks, here we go.
Oh, wait a minute. No. I'm on the phone, so it's okay. I just don't know what I'm with that. I don't know.
Click it off.
No.
So Evelyn and Bill should be with us.
Okay, I can hear you.
Hi, Evelyn.
Okay.
All right, folks. Mary, it's
So
all
what-
yours.
What question, which one are we working on?
You would be working on the group 1 questions.
Group 1. Okay.
And so who do we have here? Evelyn and?
And Bill.
I'm Bill. Hi.
Okay, Bill Finley.
Yes.
Okay, so you go by Bill. Good.
The internal written communication case study for group 1.
Yeah.
So it has to do with addressing adult literacy. Nearly 1 in 5 adults in Kansas City was functionally illiterate, making the group more vulnerable to poverty, unemployment, etc. So we're going to need to put a presentation or some speakers together that'll explain to the rest of the club members the background of the problem, literacy council,
And local businesses to sponsor the team. Club members, to me, would have to, if local businesses will be sponsoring the team, and to find out who they can get for sponsors and what would be the discount rate.
Well, we probably want to also do sort of an internal survey of the Rotary Club members to see if either their businesses or the businesses that they work for or associated with would have some interest in sponsoring some of these teams. So don't we need to sort of do a needs analysis to figure out how much can be covered internally by current Rotarian members and their businesses, and what do we need to go outside, and how many businesses outside of the internal Rotarians? In other words, if we can get 7 Rotarians to start forming a team, the external stakeholders will be 3 teams of 4 people, 3 or 4 businesses outside there. Or Mary, am I misunderstanding this?
Well, it says that you've done that assessment, and it also says that you're looking at what other community organizations are already working on this. So I don't think you want to recreate the wheel.
Okay, all right.
So where do you want to take it from there? So you've identified some of the info that you've needed, and what is the sequence?
So for me, the bottom line is when the last paragraph it says that. So we are going to raise money as a club. This is what we're going to do. Local companies, employees, and committee members have already formed 10 4-person teams, and local businesses will sponsor the team and provide the service for the event at a discount rate. So what do we need the club members to do? So there's already the 10 4-person group team formed, and who is keeping tabs on so here's the thing I would say. So there's committee members, there's Rotarians, there's club members, blah, blah, blah. So who's in charge of this project? I guess that's one of the questions I would have to ask. Is it going to be the Rotarians who are going to be the leaders on this? Is there a club or is there a local business person who's the leader on this? And then the next question I would have to ask is, once I figure out who the leader is and we know how much work is already
Supply services at the discount rate. So it's more of a liaison service. That's the way I'm reading this.
Okay. So if it's going to be that, if it's going to be that, then what do the individual club members do?
Well, that's it.
We already have the team.
Liaisons with these 10 4-person teams, or be a member of the 4-person team.
So we will be one of the people on the team?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. We would sort of embed a single Rotarian or so in each of the 10-person teams, those who have an interest. And maybe they also liaison with the business that's sponsoring one of these teams. So, in other words, they're looking at being the main contractor, and they're subcontracting out all the individual, fundraising and individual services. You're the main contractor. Rotary subcontracting out the individual day-to-day business of team logistics, team fundraising, team services.
It sounds to me like just from the first paragraph that there's been something going on for years, but maybe hasn't been as effective as it could be. And Rotary is going to try and pull this all together and get everybody working together and make it more effective. So it has to do with, because that's what we're talking about, is communication. How are you going to communicate with these? How are you going to pull it all together to make this maybe a more effective program?
So, Mary, are you saying that we have to be able to communicate to the community in general that this is the new plan to try to improve the efficiency of this program? Is that what we've got to be able to communicate to the community as a whole that this is the new approach and logistics that we're taking to make this a more efficient program?
Yeah, you have to do that, but you also have to communicate with these teams that have been formed already and the other clubs or the other organizations that are already involved.
So William suggested, or Bill, sorry, whichever one you go, suggested that perhaps one of the things that we would have the club members do is.
Okay.
And I think the Rotary Club would also have to.
Last question: who in the club is responsible to see that this gets?
And if it turns out successful, then we could make it more of an
service doing this project, and it's been assigned to that person, or it may be the community service project person themselves. So who in the club is responsible? I hope we talked about it long before we got to this point.
If I can interrupt for a second, we're going to reconvene in less than a minute.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, and one of the things to keep in mind, and this overflows with organization development and communication, is that the goals and the roles, the policies and the procedures have to be clear to everybody, or something's going to fall apart.
Yep.
Okay?
Agree.
All right, here we go, folks.
Okay, we're back at it. So is everybody back with us now?
It'll be within 30 seconds.
Okay, very good.
In the meantime, we get to see you.
Jeff, you got volunteered for something, just so you know.
I'm sorry?
I said we volunteered you for something, just so you know.
Perfect.
He's used to getting up very early in the morning.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, hon?
Yeah.
Somebody's communicating.
Yeah, verbally.
Oh, yeah.
Just a second. No, mine.
Killer.
He's gone. He's out of the room.
Not Rudy. I think Rudy would have a deeper voice than that. Oh, there we go.
So Mary, how do you want to close the session?
Okay, well, we don't really have enough time to do some of those individual introductions. How did that go of practicing oral introduction? Cheryl, you were a facilitator in there, weren't you?
No, I was written.
Oh, you were written. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I was.
Bruce?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually wasn't time for them to actually practice what they were going to say. They spent most of the time, and I think they were very interested to learn about each other. And they spent the entire time learning about each other, and we never really had an opportunity. So if they have the opportunity to actually introduce each other, I think it should be very interesting. But I think
Yeah, pretty much the same thing here.
Okay, and that's the interesting thing about this particular section is there never seems to be enough time because we get involved with conversations and learning about another person, and that takes us away. Okay, and you were working with the other group that had the written.
Yeah, Mark and Nelson didn't talk too much about themselves. They got right into the task. And,
okay.
I think they could have. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so I can run down my bullets right quick. You know, one of the questions was, what does the team need to do? And of course, we need to raise funds and assign some other teams in order to get the money in the project going. In order to do that, some of the steps were to be assign a project manager or a team leader, form teams. Nelson had a good. His take was just basically do away with a lot of talking and just get in your club meeting and assign the teams and put them on the teams. Then get sponsors and provide services. So some of the ways that we talked about doing that was, first, we kind of needed a memo of understanding to the membership of what we're doing, and then a verbal communication and assignment of the teams, and then utilize social media, Facebook and other social media to engage the community. Utilize our networks. We all have our networks in our professional lives. Utilize those to recruit fundraising and recruit other people interested in sponsoring our project and achieving our mission. And then to get the most bang for the buck, go after those. Our networking would go into the larger employers and see if we couldn't make a presentation to, a lunch and learn presentation to an overall group of people in an organization and get a little more bang for our buck as we try to recruit and generate funds and interest in our project. So that's where we were.
Okay. And the group that I was with, I mean, they covered a lot of what was there, but the bottom line for any of that is what is the goals, what are the roles people are going to play, how are they going to interact with each other, and what are the final procedures. And so when we talk about communication in almost anything that we're trying to do, we have to keep in mind, what are the goals? What are we trying to accomplish? And then who's going to help move us in that direction? So I hope all of that makes some good sense. Again, it goes back to recognizing too, what are some of the behavior patterns and styles that people are demonstrating? Does anybody have a takeaway from this?
It has to be done with enthusiasm and communicated like this is going to be fun, because if it's going to be fun, everybody's going to want to be on a team or and then the more people that know about it, we were talking about small clubs, and Mary Ann has a small club, and she said, well, you want to tell them, Mary Ann, what we were talking about taking the leadership and talking to other people about coming on to help you and other members of the club?
Well, I brought up the fact that, you know, you may have different approaches depending on the size of your club, whether it's small or whether it's large, because I think when your club is smaller, like our club's, I think 12 members, it's more intimate. So you find that everybody is involved in doing something, whereas if you have a large club, you know, you can assign committees to actually go out and do different things. So and then we talked about, you know, maybe as an individual you would bring your friend in, or maybe a spouse or something, and network it, and, you know, to have more people involved in doing what you need to have done.
Okay. That's, you know, you're very correct in saying the differences between large and small clubs, and the degree that people are involved and committed to what they're doing. So I think with that, it's time to call this a close on the communications end. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. So we will reconvene promptly at 7 o'clock.
Okie dokie.
So I'm taking it, while I was having dinner, were there some mechanical issues that kept you from starting on time? Because I noticed that you weren't very far along when I came back. I got back around 12 minutes after.
No, we started right around 6:05. The first 5 minutes were intros.
Oh, intros, yeah, and I missed that again.
Yeah, so we started at 6:05.
Oh, okay.
So. All right. Breakout rooms worked, folks.
Yeah, they look great.
And, you know, it's interesting. It didn't dawn on me until just now, like when we set this up, that if we're going to do breakout rooms and one or two people have an issue, just keep them in the main room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
Because we had one person that I couldn't see, so we just left the main room. And we'll do the same thing with the coat of arms. So we'll have 3 breakout rooms.
No, we had one person that of the 2 that were in my room. William Baker was on the phone, so we didn't see him.
Yeah, but he still has video, I think. We just can't.
Oh, he has video, but okay.
Yeah. So we're going to have 3 break.
He doesn't have a camera.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So we're going to have 3 breakout rooms. The main room will be Jesse doing the coat of arms. The first breakout room will have Cheryl, and the second breakout room will have Mary.
Okay. So you don't need me for that. That's fine.
No, but if you want to stay with the main room, that's fine. If you want to go to one of the other, if you want to be in one of the rooms, that's fine. Otherwise, I was going to leave you in the main room with me.
Okay.
So I'm doing the drawing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you held up a coat of arms and yes.
Yep. Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, is he drawing already?
I drew them something to show them how much detail.
Oh, nice.
Is that
What is that alien down in the bottom?
is that a picture of the world or is that a grape?
No,
That's,
the one.
that's
That
the
one.
world. That's an orange.
Honey,
Here's
I
Bruce.
Oh,
Eric.
I thought that one was from Roswell.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Your world look a little alienish.
I got to tell you, folks, in terms of technology, with the number of people we have on, that last session worked perfectly.
Yeah.
Now I can relax after sweating that one.
Yeah, I think it goes smoothly.
I think it went very smoothly.
Yeah.